Welcome to SADGIC The Gathering, a channel where we will talk about the following things. But specifically, this thing. Look, I know half of you are probably thinking,
another nerdy white guy yapping about magic.
And the other half of you are probably thinking, and you're both right. Yeah, I love Magic the Gathering. It's one of the main ways I've stayed close with so many of my friends for years. It's also such an amazing creative outlet, and I love belonging to this community, as demented as you all are. As a rule with this channel, I'm not really interested in building perfectly fine-tuned and overpowered decks. Don't get me wrong, I definitely like to build powerful decks with high synergies and combos that want to win the game. But I think I just prefer decks that represent my creativity and are more focused on doing something unique or fun or comboing off in a way that's unexpected. I will always pick a fun deck that loses over a predictable deck that wins. And if that's you, you're in the right place. And if that's not you, great. I will still gladly lose to you trying to turn your entire board into bears. Either way, I'm glad you're here. Genuinely. I'm lonely. Now, on with the show. Okay, the reason that you're here, I have picked 10 two-color commanders, one for each guild, that I think are underrated or overlooked and pretty amazing. For these commanders to be on this list, one, they had to be less popular or underrated in the sense that they weren't in the top 10 most popular commanders for that color combo. Let's fight in the comments if you disagree with me. Two, they don't require being built in one specific way. That's so boring. I like decks that give you a little wiggle room. And lastly, I just think they're kind of neat. Whether you're sick of your current stuff or you just want to see what you might have overlooked because there's like 5 sets every 2 days that get released, this list is for you. Let's find your next commander. Okay, first up for Azorius, we have Genku Future Shaper. Genku is the Blink commander that I've always wanted. You should build him Blink, but you don't have to. All Genku cares about is that your stuff leaves the battlefield. You can bounce stuff, you can exile stuff, you can destroy stuff, but as long as it goes, Genku is happy. You've got foxes with vigilance, moonfolk with flying, rats with lifelink. You can also focus on lands leaving. And if that's not enough for you, his dad lord rules. Next up for Boros is Kadric, Soul Kindler. You know how you thought you had to run 5 colors for your Legends Matter deck? You don't. You just need Kadric. Ditch the pie, stick with this guy. Kadric is your new Legends dad. What's not to like? Throw in your best legendary creatures that have good ETB effects or attack triggers. You can add token doublers in there with white. You can also throw in some enchantments that have ETB payoffs. If you can get this thing set up, it is an absolute monster. For Dimir, we've got Marvo, Deep Operative. I love games within games. Whether you're making me vote, whether you're putting my stuff in 2 piles and making me pick. I love things that momentarily shift the dynamic of Magic the Gathering. And so for me, Marvo's Clash ability is a total home run. There's a little bit of drawback because he is 5 mana and you have to wait for an attack trigger to go off. But the nice thing about this deck, put your small Dimir All-Stars out on the field, and then when Marvo clashes, put your big Dimir stuff out there. And in the meantime, you're gonna have fun. Now for Golgari, I went with Aveline de Grand Prix from Assassin's Creed. Aveline is elegant and simple and straightforward and all the good things that a commander deck should. And I hate to say it, but this should be your go-to Death Touch commander. I'm sorry, Finn. There are so many ways to build it because there are so many options with Death Touch and counters. And I feel like it kind of flew under the radar being in Assassin's Creed. And the last thing, the disguise cost is just a little sweetener for your mana curve. For Gruul, we've got Tahngarth, First Mate. I don't want to tell you to build this deck. This deck is only for the truly demented among you. It's kind of hard to categorize this commander because it's technically very balanced and pretty fair. Basically, Tahngarth gets passed around and forced on you like a March the Machine Aftermath booster. All of your opponents are going to take a beating. And what makes it really fun is when you make him unblockable and really hard to target. It's so wild to watch all of your opponents die from your commander without you having to do anything. This deck is really weird, but I honestly respect it. Okay, for Izzet, I've got Mary Reed and Anne Bonny. You thought we were going to build a Spellslinger deck? Not in my house. This is the second Assassin's Creed commander on that list. That's not intentional, but I will say that Assassin's Creed kind of came and went without a lot of noise but it has a ton of good commanders and gems that are worth digging into. This might be my favorite commander from the Assassin's Creed set. And yes, it kind of breaks the rule that I mentioned earlier about decks being built in one way. It clearly wants pirates, it clearly wants islands, and it clearly wants vehicles. But I feel like there's enough variety there that you can kind of make it your own. I think I just appreciate the value on display with this commander. You've got card draw, you've got discard, you've got treasures, you've got options. And I love the art for this card. For Orzhov, we've got Thalise, Reverent Medium. She's a token commander with the promise of a huge payoff. 5 mana, you're gonna have to be patient and trust the deck. And if you're okay with that slow buildup, Thalise will reward you in a huge way. Getting a huge board state on everyone else's turn is a big deal. And the nice thing that I've noticed about Thalise is she kind of flies under the radar sometimes, but she's a total powerhouse. Now in Rakdos, I chose Karazakar, the Eye Tyrant. Karazakar is classic Rakdos in that it lives right on the balance between chaos and control. And goad is such a goaded mechanic. For as sinister as this deck might seem, it's not that evil. Yes, you're making your friends attack each other one creature at a time. But with the mutual card draw that's going on, I think your opponents will be a little more understanding. This deck thrives on you amassing more and more hateful Rakdos items in your hand while chaos ensues around you. Now with Selesnya, I chose Treebeard, Gracious Host. This commander feels like maybe the most underrated on this list because it was just sort of snuck into the Hobbit precon from Lord of the Rings. But on its own, it is such a monster of a life gain commander. Treebeard will turn into a massive threat with Trample in no time at all. That commander damage ain't gonna feel good. There's so much life gain options out there in Selesnya. Yes, people will definitely try to remove him, but he has Ward 2, and you'll be so far ahead of everyone else with your massive life total that you can just keep bringing him back and boosting him up. Do not sleep on Treebeard, unless you're Merry and Pippin. And last on this list for Simic is Bonnie Paul Clearcutter. I don't typically like to run commanders that have a CMC greater than 5, but Bonnie Paul is my exception. Words like powerhouse and value engine and dynamic get thrown around a lot in Commander, but Bonnie Paul is those things. Entering with a bonus creature that gets massive fast, having card draw, having ramp, and having reach is huge. Once she starts going, she is a train that will not stop. You'll be dumping lands onto the battlefield all game long with her. And even at 6 mana, it bounces back from removal pretty quick. It allows you to play your big beaters round after round with ease. It's one of my favorite Simic commanders I've ever played with. Whew. And that is the list. Is there anyone that you really like in this list? Is there anyone that you hate? Is there anyone that I missed? Tell me if you've ever built any of these decks. I'm curious to see how they've worked for you. I genuinely want to hear it in the comments. Let me know. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe. There's a lot more where this came from. Thanks for watching.